Strong Typhoon Lan continues to intensify. Dora remains defiant on tonight's tropical weather bulletin. And now the latest around the wide world of tropics. Tropical weather bulletin for August 11th. So, around the world, 2 major hurricane equivalent storms and the remnants of Khanun, which have continued to affect the Korean peninsula in the last few days. Lan has turned code red for us right now, so a serious situation unfolding, and we'll show you why in a moment. In the Atlantic, it's day 72 of hurricane season, and we still have no areas of interest. Is this trend going to keep up? My solution is probably not, but let's enjoy the silence whilst it lasts. In the Eastern Pacific though, it's bulking up, 60% chance for the middle system out of 3 areas of interest, a 40% now off the west coast of Central America, and 20% for a Central Pacific AOI that could become Hone. Dora there, moving off very close to international dateline now, about 173 degrees west. Remnants of Khanun are over North Korea. Lan is a category 3 right next to the Ogasawara Islands. They'll be getting a pounding right now, and a 10% area of interest for next week will form somewhere near Lan and has currently a small chance of development. North Indian Ocean, nothing going on here right now. We just have a few little areas there of rainfall across the coast of India predominantly. So let's take a look at Lan. Here it is right now. It's currently just 67 kilometers from Hahejima, 76 from Ogasawara, 708 from Aogashima, 1045 from Tokyo, and 1101 from Nagoya, Japan. It is a category 3 with winds of around 120 miles per hour and a pressure of 945 millibars, but it is intensifying and could reach category 4 status fairly soon. Really going up through the gears, and a typhoon warning in effect for the Ogasawara Islands over there. Dora then, a similarly strengthed storm, if that's a word, 115 mile per hour winds and an estimated pressure of around 956 millibars, 602 kilometers southwest of Johnston Atoll, which it will miss, 1445 from Kao, 1751 from Midway Atoll, 1913 from Taongi, and 2244 from Wake Island, which will be the place that the storm passes closest to in the next 7 days. Currently a 25% chance of tropical storm force winds there. Satellite imagery in the last few hours sheds light upon Typhoon Lan, looking extremely good and picturesque on this latest imagery. You can see right into the eye there, very good structure, and you can also see its very close proximity to those islands of Japan. Of course, they're relatively used to strong typhoons being in the exposed location that they are, but nonetheless this one's passing very close by, moving slowly as well, which means that the rainfall accumulations will be sky high when the storm moves through and beyond. Now here is Dora. Looks like we had a few little satellite hiccups there, but it's looking good once again. It struggled last night into the early hours of this morning, but now its eye has popped out once again, and look at it go. It's looking good. That's why we're calling it defiant today. It is much stronger than what we expected it would be at this point in time. It's approaching the international dateline, just another 7 degrees to go until it gets there, and earlier model runs were suggesting that it would barely be a tropical storm at all by the time it got there. Well, it looks like it could still be at least a category 2 now. Well, here is rotation from the remnants of Khanun and the radar imagery over South and North Korea, and you can see that the center is gradually dispersing and becoming less clear to see where exactly it is, but it's somewhere over North Korea right now, not far from the eastern coast there, the bit that juts inwards, and still lots of rainfall occurring over parts of South Korea, including the capital Seoul. Now, the Eastern Pacific sea surface temperatures look like this. Warm around Hawaii, by the way, now, but along the west coast of Mexico, very warm, over 30 degrees Celsius for a large area into the Gulf of California. Gulf of Mexico, very warm, 32 degrees in a few spots off Louisiana, extending to the coast of Florida and the Florida Keys. Around the Bahamas and on the southern side of Cuba, very warm conditions, and the Atlantic basin as a whole is looking good, even around Bermuda, temperatures around 28 degrees Celsius. Western Pacific looking pretty decent, still a massive cool spot from Khanun and its legacy, but where Lan is right now, temperatures are around 30 degrees Celsius, maybe slightly more in one or two little spots, and 30 degrees almost all the way, well 29 all the way to Japan there, depending on where exactly it might strike. South China Sea looking very good as well, should be mentioned. Bay of Bengal, warm, especially further north off the coast of India and Bangladesh, and the Arabian Sea is a little bit cooler. Southwest Indian Ocean, of course, into its off-season. Not much has changed since our last update here. Cool sea surface temperatures. The Australian region remaining fairly cool as well, even around Christmas Island, I think, and the Cocos Islands. Temperatures are much cooler there now as well. Around Fiji, going below 26 degrees Celsius and extending further eastwards as well. One or two cool anomalies now in the Western Pacific thanks to recent storm activities, but Lan is currently above 1 to 2 degrees Celsius above average waters. Cool spots still around Hawaii and to its east, and in the eastern East Pacific still looking very warm, and the El Nino effect looks like it's still building slowly and steadily. The Atlantic still well above average as well in the Gulf and in the main development region. Looks like it might be mellowing out a little bit further towards the north, at least in the subtropics. Look at the enormous pool of very good energy there in the oceanic heat content in the Caribbean Sea and beyond. Serious concerns if a storm ends up over that. Eastern Pacific still looking pretty decent as well in a few spots. There's plenty of energy still for more tropical cyclones. Of course, we're still struggling to get up to the naming list, and the Western Pacific also looking good, except where the recent typhoons have been. So, GFS model over the next 5 days. It was a little bit jumpy here and there, so it might be slightly glitchy, but it is showing potentially 3 systems forming within that 5-day period. On the left, a system that tries to get itself sorted. That could be a Hone contender, but chances are fairly low. The middle one has the highest chance, that's the 60%, becoming a significant system and possibly a significant hurricane there, not much larger than Dora was, by the way, and a third one much larger to the east, which looks like it wraps up. Now here's Lan and Dora continuing on towards the northwest, Lan towards the central part of Honshu by the looks of things in Japan, and then it shoots up towards the north. Dora there, it doesn't last too much longer when it passes the international date line. There it is, really starting to weaken after it does so, and then by the time we get to day 5 there's hardly anything left of it. Starts to recurvature under the influence of a big frontal system up towards its north. Now, looking at the rainfall expectations for Lan, it is looking at a really significant rainfall amount for the Ogasawara Islands. For the mainland Japan part, we're still a little bit out there at the moment, but we're looking at a few areas there not far from the Nagoya region that could receive very high amounts of rainfall. Current projection there showing 14 inches, that's 350 millimeters. That's actually quite a bit lower than what the models were saying previously. And a similar amount there for the Ogasawara Islands as well, 350 millimeters, though that's on top of what's already been received there so far, and I imagine that's already been quite a bit. So that's a general showing there of what we're expecting in the next 7 days, but things of course can change. Longer range then, we're looking towards the Eastern Pacific again, so that first hurricane and then a big second one there forming, and just moving away from the coast of Mexico. They might get a little bit of tropical storm force winds along the coast. The first system passes just north of Hawaii. Will it get close enough to spark watches and warnings or concerns? Maybe. We'll have to wait and see on that one. Of course, this is getting a little bit further out towards the 10-day mark by the time it gets towards Hawaii. That second system, once again, a very strong storm, and maybe a third one forming to the east there as well. Lan shunting on through Japan there as a tropical storm later on, and then maybe a weak system there that tries to develop into another tropical cyclone just south of Shikoku, maybe a surprise formation there, but that is in the longer range, and then a third system behind it which is extremely large and struggles to find its feet. So really what you'd expect for this time of year, large systems that try and wrap themselves into tropical cyclones but really struggling on the whole. That of course after Lan. Scan the barcode and that will take you to the Force 13 merch store, where you can take a look at all of our products and our full season and individual storm animations on request. Also, are still waiting for Hone t-shirt. You should be aware that it will get pulled immediately if Hone does form, so it's limited edition, folks. Now, Eastern Pacific in the Scilly range, this is what happens with this third hurricane there, and then a fourth one behind it, an extremely powerful one by the looks of things there, a small one. Both of them should remain at sea. Of course, this is very long range, so we're not sure exactly what will happen and whether these will form at all. And then a fifth system forming right at the end there, so it really does look like the Eastern Pacific means business. And as regular viewers of Tropical Weather Bulletin would know, we usually start at the Atlantic, and that obviously means that there is nothing to look at over there once again, even in the long range. Western Pacific, there's a storm on the northern side of Japan there, the one that originally formed just south of Shikoku. Then there's one that moves just off the coast of the Philippines there through the South China Sea and starts to turn westwards and could become a typhoon there. That's much later on. And then maybe a system starting to form again near the Philippines on the eastern side towards the end of that loop. But that really is towards the later days of August. We're really quite far away from that, but just a little idea on what we might see. Speaking of the Philippines, one of many locations that I'll be visiting on Force 13's Eastern Tour in September. It'd be great to see you if you are along the route there. A few other locations involved as well: Athens, Singapore, Cebu and Hong Kong. Who knows, there may even be a typhoon involved. And you can talk about all of tonight's activity on our Discord server, discord.gg/force13 for tropical weather and general weather chat, with over 3,500 members from all around the world. On this day in 2013, amazing to think it's 10 years ago now, we had Typhoon Utor, which was peaking as a strong Category 4 on its approach to the Philippines there. An image just before nightfall shown there. And we also had the fading system Henriette, which had weakened to a tropical depression over there in the Eastern Pacific. We also had a tropical disturbance just east of it, which would eventually become Tropical Depression 2C, I think it was. It was a C number anyway, over there in the Central Pacific when it finally got itself going. But Utor, the strongest storm on this day. Well, back to 2023, and we are code red, remember. Emily is the next name in the Atlantic, Fernanda in the Eastern Pacific, and Hone is next in the Central Pacific. 36 storms so far this year around the world. In the Western Pacific then, the next up is Saola. We've had 3 majors in a row now. In the North Indian Ocean, our next name is still Tej. And it's a little bit of a surprise that we've not had that yet, but the secondary peak of the North Indian Ocean is coming up in around October. The Australian region's next name is Jasper. Southwest Indian Ocean will start off with Alvaro, and in the South Pacific it's going to be Lola. That's all from tonight's Tropical Weather Bulletin. Technology permitting, once again, we'll be back tomorrow night.